Welcome to Bullish and Beyond. It's Beery the Bull. I'm your AI co-host. Join myself, Brian the MacMan, and JT Knows Things while we dive deep into the world of stocks, crypto, and how to live a bullish life. It's time to get bullish, and there's no better place to start than right here. Let's dive in.
Hey everyone, welcome to another amazing episode of Bullish and Beyond.
Let's go.
Yes, sir. We are green today. Green in the crypto den, green over here, and it is because stocks are popping. We got all-time highs on a number of our favorite stocks. S&P within 0.1% of hitting its all-time high. Nvidia just hit an all-time high. Palantir just hit an all-time high. Things are crushing. So exciting. And I have a special Beyond thing I want to add to the episode about earthing. So stay tuned to talk about earthing if you don't know what that is.
Ooh.
It's going to be super cool.
I don't know what that is.
Ooh.
I'm excited to hear it. Yeah. Teach me something.
So JT, I hear all this stuff happening about stable coins. Why don't we talk about that real quick? I know that has implications both on the crypto and the stock side. You know, the Circle IPO has been going bonkers ever since this legislation's been going through the government. What is going on with the stablecoin information?
Well, last week we talked about the potential of the Senate passing being strong. They, in fact, passed. It's off to the House. The House is controlled by the Republicans. This is a bipartisan, believe it or not, bill. Some Democrats have come across the aisle, but in general, you know, it is a 99.9% chance that it's going to pass in the House. In light of all that confidence now, right? Because there were some concessions in redrafting of this bill at the Senate. The real players have released preemptively their strategies with stablecoins, one of which is Visa, another is MasterCard. Visa rolled out a roadmap of how they're going to be rolling over all of their systems to stablecoins in the next 24 months.
Are we going to be using stablecoin debit and credit cards for Visa, MasterCard in the future, or what's going to happen?
This is a really important thing for people to know. All they're talking about, all I'm talking about, all the bill talks about is a database. That's it. We're talking about them updating their technical systems and basically moving their transactions onto a blockchain. This is a back-end decision and move. You will not experience a disruption in anything. It's more of a shift of you swiping a card, and then the ones and zeros update your ledger, and then it updates the POS's ledger. Then those get rolled up to the bank, then the bank rolls it up to the other banks, and then da-da-da-da-da, all the way up, and then we all settle by the end of the day and the end of the, month, depending on the kind of transaction.
Will it settle faster with these new, distributed ledgers?
So a stablecoin, when you swipe the card, that is the transaction. It is settled instantly, like as soon as you swipe. So the difference between traditional rails and stablecoins. In traditional rails, you have two things in a transaction. You have the actual transaction occurring. Then as soon as that happens, you send a message to the ledgers, hey, update this stuff. And then the value transacts. Usually anywhere from 3 to
end of day.
40 days later, depending on how much the volume is and where you're sending it. But yes, from a coffee at Starbucks being 3 to 5 days to $1 billion oil order in, Zambia, that would take up to a month. So it's like, it really depends.
I always want to get my money faster. When we're running like our retail Cellular Max store, for example, someone swipes their credit card, you don't, on a Friday, you don't have it in your bank account till, Tuesday, let's say.
There you go. That exact thing. So them going to a blockchain and enabling stablecoin functionality really is just getting rid of the message part. So as soon as you swipe, the transaction is instantly completed.
Okay, no more
value
batching.
Instantly, it completely settles right then and there. So if I send you $100 in stablecoins versus $100 in traditional rails, The $100 will get to your wallet in less than 5-10 seconds. Should cost me about a penny. And then the
Okay.
money in the traditional rails could take days to weeks and will cost 2.7 to 3.3%, roughly.
Would you think they're going to charge the merchants less? I mean, I would love to be able to take a lesser fee on a large max sale if I could do it with stable coins. I mean, with the ease of the transaction, I mean, I'm not requesting our customers to go pay us in crypto, but if they can use their traditional Visa and have it settle and we can pay 0.01% fee, I mean, we would be doing that instantaneously.
Yeah. What I understand is when you swipe a card, that is going to buy USDC, use USDC, and all that stuff. So it'd be on the merchant's end to set up.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that's actually being
So
used
they would partner with
through.
Circle, for example, and it would buy the USDC and then it would
No,
transact
this is
back?
the cool
No.
part. This is the cool part.
Okay.
They would use Chainlink, right, to connect to the exchange where you're going to be buying the stablecoin, and then also to spin it back out into dollars. Chainlink can do that. They are the
Okay.
middleman of data between Web3 and Web2 data, or traditional financial rails and blockchain. They are right in the middle. They work in data. So it's really just, instead of it being ones and zeros in this specific database and this one, all other stuff, it's, hey, this token and this amount was at this wallet. We bought this, we swapped this. Chainlink can change those languages into one. It basically translates
Nice.
between the two processes.
API.
And it's basically an API. That's the comparison I make in my YouTubes. Yeah.
Okay.
Oracles are blockchain APIs, and Chainlink is the largest Oracle provider. They've partnered with Visa and MasterCard
Can
on
you
this
invest? Can you
rollout.
invest in Chainlink? Is it public?
It is one of my best performing tokens.
Okay.
It's up maybe 500% in the past 2 years.
Heck yeah.
Um, yeah, and I reckon in the next
Let's
six
buy
to
some
18
Chainlink.
months,
What's
yeah,
the name of the coin?
Link.
Link.
It's a name, yeah, it's a name that I've been touting for a while. I am not surprised that MasterCard and Visa are teaming up with them. But ultimately,
Well, these
this
big companies are only
legislation's,
going to pick best in class. Like you're not going to mess around with some tiny company, tiny coin. If they need to do 500,000 transactions a day, they're not going to pick anyone but the best.
yeah. And that is basically my whole part of my thesis of the fund. That's why I get called a boomer in crypto circles. Because, I invest in like the 7-year-old projects, but I'm like, really, what institution is going to pick a 6-month-old protocol that's 10 times faster versus something that's
And there's
ran?
too many new ones that are going to die. It's like investing in like a startup that's in an alpha round, friends and family.
Yeah.
Like, how do you know it's going to work out? I'd rather invest in the pre-IPO round right before they launch, just like you're talking about now. Link has the potential and they're going to have the customers. So invest in a company that already has the right product.
Yeah, they're moving hundreds of billions of dollars a year. They have tens of millions of wallets and
It's
customers.
proven.
Yeah. Yeah, it's proven. Exactly.
Well,
Um,
that's super exciting.
this
So, I mean,
is,
we're on the verge
it
of
is.
kind of changing the way that, even consumers are paying, but you're saying they literally might not even know about it. So,
Correct.
it might be that Visa, I mean, maybe it's a time to invest in Visa and MasterCard. Is their profitability going to go up so much because they're going to still keep charging the merchants, these, fees, 2.5, 2.7%,
Yeah.
whatever these standard fees that people are paying. And then they're going to collect the difference now. So they might be that 2% profitability could actually hit their bottom line significantly.
Yeah, because, they wouldn't have to pay all the middlemen to settle the transaction anymore. They would have instant settlement on Ethereum. So,
I mean, their ROI could go up 50%. I'm just making it up. I really don't know, but
yeah,
that if you add 2% to the bottom line of a company with thin margins, it could be insane.
it's big. It's big. And, you know, it's it's pretty incredible. This bill is basically going to also enable Circle to distribute its token at a way faster clip, because it's not just, you know, Americans, Coinbase is, it's USDC. It's the exclusive Coinbase stablecoin. Coinbase is not exclusively American, but it is mainly American,
Mostly, yeah.
right? Yeah. And the majority of the other stablecoin volume, which is 70%, are outside of America. And that's in Tether and it's on Binance or Tron. So stablecoins being allowed by Americans, you're going to see, I believe, a influx of companies that are going to be doing these kinds of swaps, which means more revenue for exchanges and all those protocols. It also means more customers for
Yeah.
Circle, because it's not just retail in America now. Now it is MasterCard. Now it is Visa. Now it is everyone using USDC, theoretically, without even knowing it when they buy their coffee.
Well, the market knows it because Coinbase is up 30% this week.
Well, there is
Wow.
some the smart money knows. I mean,
No, like you said,
this
I mean
is huge.
they're gonna benefit, and it might not be tomorrow, but stocks trade on future cash flows. So if you're projecting out much more cash flow in 26 and beyond, looking good.
And do not forget, if that happens with Circle, Coinbase gets 50%. And did that cost them anything? No. That's
No,
just chatter, baby. That's just
they have been lobbying the
self-made
government and
profit.
spending a lot of money on that.
Yeah,
Relatively,
sure.
but it's like
last I heard, they donated $35 million to the PAC that has been doing this. I promise that they have made way more from Circle. I bet Circle has written
they'll make
half
that
a
in a couple
bill.
days.
Yeah, half a bill to them in the last few quarters. The adoption of USDC has almost doubled every year the past 4 years.
Well,
Just
they've
like
been
Tether.
making more than 35 million an hour today, so
Right. Yeah, they're fine.
they're
Brian
looking good.
Armstrong's living good. He's on a mountaintop, really. And
You know what
I
powers
gotta
all
give
this
some
stuff?
flowers.
Okay, go ahead.
What's that? I gotta give flowers, and then we'll move on.
Okay.
Kathy Wood. I watched her get executed by multiple news channels at the time because she was down 40 something percent in her alpha fund, and she had her biggest loser was Coinbase. She took everything,
Kept her conviction,
and she piled into it, and her entry into that thing now probably looks amazing. She's been on a rocket ship. She bought that entire 22, 23 low. She took leverage to do it. She's got balls of steel. She needs her flowers. That was a great call by her. Kudos to her investors. But she literally took flack for over a year of her just pouring into her loss leader.
Well, she has crazy lofty projections. I mean, people beat her up for it. I mean, she's projecting Tesla to be worth 35 trillion in the year 2037 or something like that. So she thinks it's going up, 3,500% in the next decade. And it's definitely in theory possible. I mean, I'm a big Tesla bull. I don't know if I project it quite that high, but in general, she goes on a limb for these things, and yeah, I really respect that. Just like you said,
she needs her flowers. You
have to see ahead of the curve.
You have to. She's a permabull. Like, she just is.
So are we. I mean, at least me. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm always bullish. I mean, I know you have some.
I am.
You got some midterm bearish, long-term bullish, but I mean, I can't get my head away from being a bull. I mean, and it's part of my just external optimism that I always want to win and everything in life, and stocks is the same for me, that I think they're all going up, and I realize this doesn't always happen. I mean, there's, Apple's down 20% this year, even though the S&P is up. So, not everything in my life is up, but a lot of my picks are up. Nvidia powering everything behind this stablecoin transition. Right. I think everything literally bubbles up to Nvidia. They are going to control all the GPUs that are running these processes. They make all the link chips that are linking up these things. And we talked a little bit earlier. Even though we are very, very bullish, there is a scenario where we could have some fear in Nvidia. Why don't you go ahead and lay that on our listeners?
Yeah. Look, before we started, we were going back and forth. I believe in Nvidia. I'm a 99% permeable on Nvidia. They are the picks and shovels play for basically all the software I invest in. My software would not
Yep.
run without their hardware. They are the yin and the yang. They have an
They
8-year
touch
moat.
everything.
Everything. Like the closest person is Jensen's like cousin, and they actually are big customers of his cousin. Like they buy a lot of their chips. Like the closest competitor is family, and they have arrangements. So like
At
literally,
AMD, we're talking.
yeah, AMD, the best moat in history. He'll probably get a Nobel Peace Prize. Okay,
He deserves
but
some prize. I mean, I don't, what do you do?
yeah,
What kind of prizes do you give
he,
to the best company in the world? By the way, they
I don't
are the
know.
number one company in the world. They just hit 3.8 T. That is 3,800,000,000,000.
Yeah,
What do
yeah.
you even do with that much
It's
money? It
crazy.
is absolutely
It's
nuts.
crazy.
But I
It's
think it's number
crazy.
one company in the world in the year 2030, and my prediction is around 10 trillion.
And the only thing that can get in front of that, all of the things we just said, is Taiwan and China. If China actually disrupts Taiwan, and that is spicing
China's the
up,
wild card here.
it's a serious wild card. And if you're long, you got to at least pay attention to the risk. You got to at least think about it. If China
Beware.
were to start really messing with Taiwan, the TSMC, they make 90% of the high grade chips and 60% of the mid to low grade chips. So they are pretty much
They're the
the,
only shop in town,
yep,
which is why
and
I
they
also
are,
love TSM.
yeah, yeah. What does the T stand for, though? If people don't know,
Technology.
Taiwanese. It is a
Taiwanese.
Thai, yeah, it is a Thai company. They are
Taiwanese
in,
semi
not Thai,
Taiwanese
yeah,
semi manufacturing company corporation.
there you go.
Yeah.
Semiconductor. Yep, there you go. So they are a Taiwan business.
Yes.
And China basically last year they broke a sea barrier, which is just like a DMZ zone similar to North and South Korea, but in the ocean. And America has had ships just protecting Taiwan for a very long time. Last year, China ran at us, literally, and we decided to do nothing about it. And they've been encroaching into Taiwanese waters over the last year. They've been building bases. They have ships outside of Taiwan. We don't know
Sounds a little
what
scary.
they're, yeah, we don't know what they're going to do. Just last week, the Taiwanese president or prime minister, I forget their exact political structure, but their leader, she was on Tucker Carlson talking about it, and she is scared. Like she is worried based on how much it has increased over the last year. And just in the past 3 weeks, the Iran humanitarian efforts that China was doing for Iran during this, Iran Israel conflict, that is how they were able to get mass mobilization to those waters to provide humanitarian relief
Interesting.
to
They're doing under false
Iranian refugees.
pretense.
That is her suspicion. The boat count is up 2x in the past month.
Oh wow.
And it's just like, what does he have planned? Taiwan
Yeah,
was
why would they be
originally
doing that
part of China.
otherwise?
Yeah, there's like centuries old beef
China's jealous that they
on
have
that territory.
the best shipbuilding company in the world over in Taiwan.
And a lot
The
of their talent's getting sucked by India and America. Like a lot of talent. India has done a great job of
yeah,
getting people out of China for good tech jobs, amazing tech jobs. India's military, if you go look at their growth in the past 20 years, a lot of that is them recruiting Chinese immigrants, no different than America. We recruit the
interesting.
best immigrants from around the
Yeah,
world. to come build here. If you were to line up the top 100 innovators and CEOs in America, I would be shocked if less than
Half
30%
of them are probably
were native.
from somewhere else. Yeah,
They're all immigrants. Almost, I mean, even Elon's South African.
sure.
Like literal Jensen, right? Like immigrants.
Yeah.
That is America's bread and butter. The right, immigration policies at least, the good ones that bring good talent over here. But we've been doing a great job at it. It's the best place to be, and India's been pillaging China.
All right, so the
So
one counter I have to, if something were to happen to Taiwan, and we really hope it
yeah,
doesn't for a number of reasons, TSM has been building a bunch of factories in the United States, particularly in Arizona. There's 5 they're supposed to go online by the end of the decade. I think at least 3 have already broken ground. But it is multi-year projects, tens and tens of billions of dollars, per facility. And the one in Arizona, the first one is already starting to do production of Apple chips, but they're not quite as advanced as the one in Taiwan. So I think Taiwan now just started 2 nanometer, and I think the one in Arizona maybe is on the 4 nanometer. And the devices that are out right now are 3 nanometers. So the 2 nanometer that they just started is for like the next generation iPhone, for example.
that's
So I mean, we're like kind of like a year behind, 2 years behind, maybe on the level of sophistication that they have in the U.S. So I'm not sure if it's the type of employees that they have working there, or if they physically have different equipment or what. But I assume that we can speed it up, at some point. But these chip factories don't just come out of nowhere. It is a very long-term process, and you need the
and
power to
it's
run it. So we need more energy, which goes back
yeah,
to Oklo and some of these other, mini nuclear reactor companies. Oklo has been going nuts recently.
100%, and it should. Like we need it. It's just there's a significant gap. It's
We're going
incredible.
to run out of power.
We
It's going to
talked
be
about it.
AI is limited by power consumption.
Yeah, and there's infinite demand for this. No different than oil. I've made this case a few times to some people here, commodity fund managers. Like the best thing about oil when you're analyzing it is it's a one-sided equation. There's infinite demand for
There
oil
is demand.
because it it's not just gasoline. It's only 16% of oil use. It's in
Yep.
soap, shampoo, our clothing. They use
Everything.
it for everything.
Yes.
Lubricant, the fluids in your car, like genuinely everything. And so really it's a supply thing. That's why when Republicans are in office, typically oil goes down because they have drill baby drill, just like Trump. Like that's pretty much
Yep.
their platform. Open the floodgates. It gets the gas prices lower and all that stuff. But you know, it's the same thing with inference compute, in my opinion. I think there is infinite demand. Like, if I had a cool 100 megawatts of inference compute, like basically the computers that run
We'll
AI,
use it.
there's not, people would be lining up at the door fighting each other for a bid just to get that.
I mean that's why
For,
CoreWeave is exploding, because they're spinning
I
up
was
new
out there,
demand, and
yeah,
it's it's not. I mean, I'm not going to go ahead and say the word infinite, but it's demand exceeds supply, so they're constantly buying new supply. And the future demand, I think, it's way bigger than any of us can even predict. I mean, it's kind of hard to say, like, we if advanced humanoids come online in the next couple years, and then those scale at tens of thousands of percents of robots per year. I mean, 5 years from now, we could be using 10,000 times the amount of energy that we have. I mean, that probably would exceed what the supply is, obviously. But I mean, we're probably not that far away from fusion and stuff like that. So I mean, it's really how fast
yeah,
can we get the technologies where we're creating energy, from nothing.
yeah, 100%. I totally agree. I mean, CoreWeave will never run out of demand, in my opinion. Like people like CoreWeave. I think there's going to be 50 of them. The gap is significant. It's thousands and thousands and thousands times off from what we need. An example we talked about earlier in the year. They restarted that 3 Mile Island nuclear plant in New York for one data
One
center.
company. We have one data center. Yeah.
One data center, one company, and just one region. That's like 7 states. They needed 3 nuclear reactors that are on 3 miles of land
Crazy.
for one data center. I mean, it's
Power
it's
hungry.
unfathomable. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to
They
even
will
understand.
require less power in the future, and I've had this discussion with a bunch of my friends in AI that
Yeah,
the power consumption is going to go down a lot. Maybe we don't need all that power. I mean, I still argue that we need way more power. So even if the chips in the future use 2% of the power need that they currently have, we'll still have a need for 100x more power, just because we'll have so many more things needing the inferencing. I mean, I can't even imagine what's going to happen when there's millions of full self-driving cars, and there's millions of robots out there. It's going to be nuts
yeah,
what the demand is. I mean, I'm so excited for that future, but we need more power to be able to accelerate into that future. And when you look at which countries have done well, it's a lot about power availability, per capita. And if you don't have that power, you can't
yeah.
be a first world country. You literally have to have it to get into the future. So the country with the most power will probably be the most powerful.
Mhm.
The country
It
with
all
the
comes
most
down to
power will be the
energy.
most powerful. Yes, it
Yeah, that's
does.
good. It does come down to energy. Everything does. Even our currency is a representation of energy. We
You
have to
can't do
give life.
stablecoins without power.
Yeah, my computers aren't on, software won't run.
Yeah.
It's pretty simple. And honestly, if they got that much more efficient, if man were, responsible with horsepower, we wouldn't have cars being built that drive 250 miles an hour with a 65 speed limit. Like,
Doesn't make
even it,
sense.
it doesn't make a difference, brother. If I just got 98% more efficiency, I'm putting that pedal 98% more to the ground, brother. Like, the RPMs go to 10,000 for a reason. We got 7 gears for a reason. Humans are just gluttonous. We're
Yeah,
gluttonous. I think if we get 100 times more efficient, we're just going to, consume 100 times more energy.
I
We
agree.
just won't
We're
stop.
not gonna back down. We'll go, oh, we have more power to make more stuff. Okay, great. More efficient, we can
Yeah,
do more.
I mean, if I ran an energy company and I got profit for every, kilowatt I sold, why am I not selling the most amount of kilowatts possible?
100%.
Why am I not doing that? And then if, I get paid for every token generated by an inference output, why am I not trying to put out as many tokens? I have a fiduciary responsibility.
You pump them out.
That pump them out. Pump them out. And a really good way, like this being true, the best way to invest is second order consequences. So for this all to be true, what also needs to be true? Like assuming that thesis is correct, what also needs to be true? Well, nuclear energy needs to be mass produced and safe, and like we need a different branding on nuclear energy because there's no other way we're going to do it. Or we need an alternative energy source. Or we need, maybe more
I was reading that we're going
TSMCs.
to need energy in space. That this is going to be. I was watching a podcast with Sam Altman the other day, and he actually did a quick reference to Oklo, which he was board of directors on.
Yeah.
But more companies in the nuclear space certainly, but also in space itself. That's the here was the issue that when you create energy, it gives off a lot of heat, and
Yes.
when you consume the energy. So they were saying we'll need like data centers, for instance, in space because the heat is going to be so intense that will be warming the world. Whether you think about global warming is real or not, we will technically be
Yeah.
increasing the Earth's temperature by the amount of energy we will use in the future, and especially when we talk about going to 100x energy usage. But if
Yeah.
it's in space, and I don't know
It's
exactly what happens,
smart.
but it just dissipates in space, and it kind of is what it is.
Well, the temperature up there is quite
But it's
cold,
so cold, so I think
right?
it'll just dissipate and move on.
Yeah, like keeping the hardware cool would be not a problem at all. You actually have a new problem. You got to insulate it so it doesn't freeze. It's a
So
whole
finding that
new
right
issue.
balance, but then you can let it run really hot. I mean, maybe it doesn't have to
Yeah,
even be it doesn't have to be
yeah,
as efficient because doesn't it can run hotter. You can use the solar is 4 times more efficient when you capture it in space outside our ozone layer.
yeah.
So stuff like that.
And you would have better latency. I mean, you're very close to a satellite up there. Um, yeah, there's a lot of benefits. That makes a lot of sense, and I agree with it. Outside of, what's the cost per payload? 16.2 million, I think, right now to get to low Earth orbit, and
It's
that's
going
like
down
Rocket
though.
Lab. It's going down, but then you also have what, 100 million of equipment up there. One one meteor storm, and
Could mess things
your
up.
shareholders, you're done. Like it's done. I just watched a video of like 50 of Starlink's satellites burning to the earth because it got hit by a meteor storm, and it looked like
Got
crazy
it.
fire, like crazy on the way down, like a
Wow.
batch of them. It looked like a meteor
I
shower,
haven't seen that.
but
That's intense.
you'll have to go to YouTube. But yeah, that's a thing. Like that's part of that's got to be in his budget. We're going to lose 10% to,
They
natural
also
disasters.
they also come back and collapse the Earth eventually. I think there's maybe a 5 year useful life or something like that. And
Yeah.
people are worried about what's going to happen with all the trash that comes from space because satellites are increasing exponentially.
Yep.
So talking about those satellites getting up there, Rocket Labs just
Yes.
got the go ahead for I believe it's called Hawkeye, and they're increasing the speed. They're going to be getting these Hawkeye satellites up to space. The stock was up a lot on the news, about 11% or so today.
Let's go.
So yeah, Rocket Labs is just crushing, and they're experts at that low Earth orbit. They have a ton of different companies they're working with to get these satellite installations up, and the satellites are going to increase, I mean, tenfold, I think, by the end of the decade. So way more opportunity for companies like them, and there's so few out there. I mean, it's literally basically SpaceX and Rocket Lab.
I could not imagine, after hearing and talking about all this stuff, bro, I couldn't imagine investing in toothpaste. Like, you want to go buy P&G? You know what I'm saying?
That
You
does
want to
not
go,
excite me at all.
yeah, you
I
want to
can't get
go
my head
load
around
up
that.
some J&J, some GE, like, ew, bro.
I only
Get
want
that
to
away
invest in
from
the
me.
future. If this company is not going to
Yeah,
be better off in 10 years, helping humanity get to the future, I don't want anything to do with it. There are no
yeah,
companies in my personal portfolio that are not skating at a very quick rate towards a future that is exciting.
yeah. That's that's why you and I get along so well, I think. I feel the same way. Everything I own, it's just a different future that I see,
You have to
mainly
have the
with
conviction. Like,
gotta have the
Palantir has a
conviction.
600 PE, but if the company goes up by 200% a year in revenue, that's not going to look very crazy in the future.
Correct. Yeah, 100%. I've been talking about the need for Chainlink since 2018, and MasterCard and Visa just
And today
adopted
you
it.
finally got validated.
Like I waited 6 years for,
uh,
that pat on my back, and I've accumulated Chainlink below $4. Last I looked, it was up to 17. So I mean,
nice.
and that was
Good
before
four
this
bagger.
news. Yeah, that's before this news, and before they handle, 300 million
Yeah.
transactions a week. That's Visa and
Well, you
MasterCard.
gave Kathy
So I
Wood
mean,
some flowers. What should we give you? Some chain link? Should we hand you some chain links here
I
virtually?
would love, I would love. I'll take any viewer's link, please. I love link. If you think
Send
it's
it
trash,
in.
I will take it. I will take it.
I'll take more circle. I mean, I'm up sevenfold in 3 weeks. So if
That's
anyone
awesome.
wants to send me some circle, go ahead.
I shouldn't have been bearish. I underestimated how degenerate the market is in terms of people wanting crypto exposure. That mattered more than anything else. Like 50, would you ever buy a business if you saw 50% to a third party on the second line of their books? Like 50?
Only if
You
it
mean
was
you
the
can?
future. So if everyone's going to adopt it, then is what it is.
It's not though. It doesn't
I
even have a third of the market.
I think people. I
It's
mean,
not.
it
It's
did
only.
it did pull back from where it's high, so it did
Yeah,
have
yeah,
some semblance of
yeah,
reason. But I mean, the IPO market's hot. The Arrow company I bought, it
yeah,
tripled same day. It's up 20% today. So I mean, it's still red hot. But I put
yeah,
most of my conviction in companies that have a little bit more track record. Like Nvidia,
yeah.
like Palantir, even though they're technically a long shot for most people's risk standards. But it's only risky if you don't have conviction.
Correct. Or else you're just going to sell when you shouldn't, and you won't buy when you should. Like Kathy. If you don't remember anything else from this podcast, Kathy is managing money at the highest level. She's like 13 funds. She's playing with billions
Yes,
of dollars across all the funds. She is on Squawk Box,
she's on
CNN,
TV
Fox
every
News.
day.
She's
Yeah,
the highest stakes possible you can play this game. Her biggest weight was Coinbase in one of her funds, and it drug her portfolio down almost 50%. And she rebalanced into coin and like four other holdings and said, "This is it." And now, and mind you, most people are selling, they're
now she's
scared,
up
whatever.
300%.
That conviction, that conviction is exactly what you need to be making the right decisions. And you build conviction through knowledge, like listening to a podcast like this
I
to
love it.
start. Don't take it as financial advice. This is
Do
us
your
giving
own
you our
research.
opinions on the research we did,
Yes.
because we do our own research and we talk about it because we meet up every week because we do it every day because we love this stuff. You need to get there and you need to build your conviction, and then you'll start making better decisions.
You also don't have to
It
invest in
starts with
everything.
research.
Like, I'm not a crypto guy traditionally, so I actually don't own any Coinbase. I have a tiny bit of money in Coinbase, but I invest in things I know. So I mean, if people want to research things that areas that they like, I mean, focus on what you like. If
That's right.
you're never gonna spend time and the diligence focusing on things you don't like. I spend 0.0% reading about toothpaste companies. I spend a lot of
Right.
time reading about Apple, Nvidia, Palantir, Tesla, other major companies, Microsoft, TSM, like that stuff excites me. I love learning what that future edge is in the computing industry, in the chip industry. So I'm always on top of that. That's what stuff that I really enjoy. It's kind of like my background. I mean, I've been in focus on Apple now for 25 years. So you come with it with some back knowledge, and yeah, you keep pushing at it and invest where where your mind is. And then last week, by example, just for everyone's knowledge, I bought more Palantir. I am that convicted, and
Let's
I
go.
also bought a little more Bitcoin.
Let's go.
Yeah,
There we go.
I
There we
sold my
go.
ETH. It was down.
Yeah.
Took a loss. I hardly ever take a loss. It is so
Yeah.
rare.
Yeah.
But I wasn't feeling it. I was down. I think about I was down about $10,000 or so. Sold that. Took a loss. And then yeah, bought some Bitcoin and bought some Palantir.
Let's go. When Bitcoin gets cut in half, I need you to pull a Kathy and trust me.
I'm not gonna sell
Just
it.
trust me on that. Yeah. Yeah. Just
I'll own it.
add to the
I'll probably own it the
portfolio.
rest of my life. Honestly, like I don't.
Yeah.
I'm not really a
100%.
seller of shares. I never really rebalance. This was once a quarter, take a little bit of a deep dive on what I had and just like, hey, I mean, I wasn't a huge position in ETH and I wasn't really feeling it anymore. Frankly, don't know that much about it. I mean, I've talked to you about it before, talked on the podcast about ETH. They do a lot of transactions. It is legitimate, but is it really the future? I don't know. But I think people are going to put more money in Bitcoin. So I think Bitcoin is going to go up more than ETH. And also, I'm in micro strategies, as well. So playing that Bitcoin, in the market that way.
3x long, baby. Might as well.
It is intense.
That's what he's doing.
So far, I'm up.
Yeah,
It's working.
I like those decisions. I've been reducing my weight in ETH as well. Ethereum is here to stay, but this is the weird part about crypto where a lot of people get burned. Ether, the asset, is a different thing. So there's obfuscated details that you have to dive into in crypto. One is, what is the relationship between the token and the network? That is very important. And developers can change that relationship with an update,
So the
which
network
is
is going to
really
be there, but
important.
they might switch the coin.
The token may not be important for the network to function. It may just be a governance token.
Interesting.
It's where you just vote with it and it doesn't have a utility on the network.
So you could use a
Or
stablecoin on Ethereum network, in theory.
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, for sure. Yeah,
Okay.
it's deployed on Ethereum, right? It is hosted. USDC is an Ethereum hosted product.
Okay.
So it's on Ethereum. When you use USDC, you're using Ethereum. But the amount of Ether you used to use those stable coins, right? The amount of Ether you used
Yeah.
was reduced by 99% from a developer update that was made about 2 years ago.
Oh, that's why
They,
ETH not doing so hot since then, huh? See, I didn't even know that. That's why people should listen to this
yeah,
podcast. Get the crypto knowledge from our crypto man. JT knows things.
that's right. That's right. I know things. I know Ethereum network here to stay. Ether, not so much. I mean, it just ain't. It is what it is.
Yeah.
You don't need, yeah, I could show you some charts. Revenue of the Ethereum
Well, it's not
network
going to
went
bounce
down
back
like,
then. Now that we're talking about it, I mean, I'm not feeling it at all.
yeah, yeah. I've been reducing my weight. It went from 8 to 4, and actually, no, I'm sorry. It went from 8 to 3, and I took that weight and I put it into Solana ecosystem
Okay.
instead of the Ethereum, and it did well. I also bought some layer twos with it, which did very well for a time. And now they've kind of all cratered because there's hundreds of them, and I think there will be eventually millions of them. But that could be another podcast. Before we close it out,
All right.
I would
So
love
to
to
make
know what
sure,
earthing is.
yes, so to make sure people can live long enough to experience this amazing technological revolution, I think we need to do some more earthing. And the general
Okay.
premise is that you need to connect your body with the physical earth. And humans right now are completely disconnected in the last couple hundred years compared to what we were doing for, hundreds of thousands of generations. We're sitting in these insoled shoes on wood floors on top of concrete slabs and buildings, and we are not getting out and walking barefoot and touching the earth. And while it's amazing to go walking barefoot to do some physical earthing, there's a lot of other ways you could do it. So I bought this bed cover from a company called Earthing, and it actually
Okay.
it goes over your sheet, and you lay either directly on top of it, or you can have a single sheet over it, and it connects into an outlet, and that outlet sends a electrical current, which mimics the same current that would come out of the ground. If you don't want to do that, you can physically connect it, through a window to the ground, but that's a little more tricky. But the guy started it off, a few decades ago. Everyone thought he was absolutely nuts, and no one would take him seriously. No one would help him do his research. But he immediately proved that he was helping these people with disabilities by having them
Wow.
earth. And an example of someone with rheumatoid arthritis, which I suffer with actually as well, is he was very crippled and he couldn't even get out of bed, and they connected to this, and then a couple weeks later he's able to walk again and do other tasks. And it literally is because the electrons that are in the earth are then coming into your body and killing these bad free radicals, and that in turn is reducing inflammation and a host of other things. It's really rebalancing things in your body, helping rebalance restorative sleep. So the two biggest, the number one thing he calls out is sleep, because people struggle with sleep. So it helps your body get into this better state to be able to sleep more effectively. But it does so many more things, and it obviously might depend on what's going on in your life and stuff like that. But one of the secondary effects is inflammation because it's reducing some of those free radicals that are taking. We do need some free radicals, just to clarify. It's killing off bad things in our body. But when you have inflammation issues, it's killing off the good things in your body. So for someone like me that has some inflammation issues, and tons of other people in this world, it is going to help out to that effect. And I've been doing it right around about 3 months. I'd heard about it before, but I didn't really know that much about it. And then one of my super entrepreneur friends, I'll give him a shout out. His name's Trey Taylor. He runs a family office, super smart dude. We're going to have him on this podcast at some point. He talked about how it helped out his sleep a lot. And, I don't have a sleep problem, but I'm always trying to make my life, better in every way I possibly can. And if I could dial up my sleep 10% better, be healthier 10%, I mean, that is game changer. So, I mean, these, you go on earthing.com and, these bed covers are like about $200 or so. Which to me, that's like one good night of sleep. I'll take it. Plugged it in and I didn't notice anything like on day one, but I'm just kind of realizing now over time that my inflammation levels are down, and I'm noticing it because I'm just in less pain. I have less knee pain. I've been more active and experiencing less pain after I've been active and stuff like that. I thought when I went fishing, on Saturday morning, I thought I have a problem, after that with my wrists and stuff, and I didn't. So I'm feeling really, really good. And, I'm still working out and doing everything I want to do. And yeah, I have a really healthy diet and everything else. So it's not that I'm not eating, junk food and then trying to earth. But together it's been super beneficial. And I'm going out of my way now to earth, even more in the environment, trying to do one walk on the beach, every week in the water. And the water is basically the best source of these electrons, naturally that, we can find, salt water in particular, because it's very conductive. So I feel very lucky. I live next to the beach. I can walk to the beach in less than 10 minutes.
That's right.
But this is such an easy way to do it. And, he talks about, I'm only a quarter way through the book. So I'm at this, initial learning phase of the reasoning and the technology behind it. But I mean, he has all these athletes and stuff that just swear by it, and they would, he made special, like, smaller ones that roll up, that go in the foot of your bed, so your feet are touching it, kind of simulating that same effect when you're earthing. And the athletes swear by it, and they travel with it everywhere. And just in my limited time, I'd say, game changer for the cost. I mean, people spend so much on their health. This is kind of a one and done way to do it, and it's so easy. It just sits under my fitted sheet, and it's there and helps me ground every night while I'm sleeping.
I love that. You'll have to send me a link for that. Can I get it on Amazon?
No, it's its own website, and we can put it in the show notes. I mean, it's literally earthing.com. This guy has done a bunch of studies with it. He partnered with some other, very famous doctors to do the studies. So it's all very legitimate. So it's, he used to have people doubting his claims, but now he has the physical evidence. He has a Netflix movie came out about it. I haven't watched the Netflix movie yet. That could be a great way for someone to learn. I mean, he's all over YouTube and everything else.
That's awesome.
But you can't have to try it. Like the biggest thing I noticed during my sleeping itself is I turn over less. So I think I used to turn over maybe more violently or more frequently, and now it's more subtle, less, waking up and turning over. And we all need sleep to live a long time and help our bodies. So, I mean, if this can help anyone sleep better, I hope people take us up and give it a shot.
I appreciate that, brother. I'm definitely going to give that a shot. I don't have any of those, like, issues per se. Like, I don't feel it, but like you said, 10% is 10%, and it's something.
Yeah, and I wasn't claiming I had any problem when I tried it. Like, I just thought, hey, my friend said he hadn't slept well in, like, decades, and then the first night he did it, he, like, changed his life. So I respect when I hear from people like that. He wouldn't be shouting out this product specifically unless it changed his life. I sent him a private message and I said, which brand did you get? I don't want to buy some off brand. I bought it from the number one guy in the world, and you could probably buy a cheaper one online. You can physically make your own. You can put duct tape onto your mattress and then stick a needle connected to an electrode into the ground outside your house. I mean, you can do this for $10, but just to buy the product, it has like some silver, thread in it and, some stuff like that to help. And it just connects to a cord. I mean, it took me 5 minutes to set up. It's super easy.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah. I don't think there's any risk in this. I mean, it's literally just helping your body get more electrons. And if you walk outside, I mean, if you're barefoot and you're outside on the, the ground for 4 hours a day, you don't need this. But this is for everyone else in the world, the 99% of people that are not connected to the earth. I mean, I'm inside my house, sitting inside my tile floor, you're in your crypto den. I mean, we're not grounded at all.
Correct.
So
I stay on concrete and wood all day.
And he's saying this is a lot of the reason that people are having diseases and stuff like that. I mean, the reason that we are developing more autoimmune, more cancers and stuff is because we're not grounded and having the ability to connect with nature. So this is just one of the many things people could do. I mean, if you're doing, red light sauna and stuff like that too, that's also helping kill some of the bad free radicals. But, add this to the toolkit. Game changer.
I love it. And it's easy. Plug it in, let it.
We don't think about it. I mean, it's there. I don't have to do anything the rest of my life. It's just on my bed.
Yeah, exactly. It's a one and done.
It is. It's so easy. 5 minutes and could change your life. So go for it.
I'm going to for sure order one. I appreciate that.
Well, I want to change people's lives on here with some of our investment ideas. You want to change people's life with some of your crypto discussion. We want to help people out when it comes to, their physical, their mental life as well. So that is why we are Bullish and Beyond. Another amazing episode. Let's keep crushing it. Keep tuning in. Tell us what you're loving about it. And if you get that earthing mat or any of these picks we talked about here today, drop a comment. We would love to hear from you.
All right, guys. Until next time.
Peace out. Cheers, everyone.
Bulls. That's a wrap on today's episode of Bullish and Beyond. Remember, the market never sleeps and neither should your ambitions. Whether it's stocks, crypto, or just leveling up in life, stay focused, stay bullish, and keep charging forward. Keep your energy high and your mindset bullish. This is Beery the Bull, your AI co-host, Brian the Mac Man, and JT Knows Things signing off. All content published by Bullish and Beyond, LLC reflects personal opinions only and is provided for informational purposes. Please conduct your own research and discuss with your accountant and/or financial advisor before making any financial decisions. The information presented should not be taken as financial advice. We are not financial advisors. Nothing you hear, see, or read in our content should be considered as any form of financial, investment, or legal advice, or a solicitation to buy or sell any assets, or to make any financial decisions.